Hey, hi everyone. I wanted to make some videos that had greater conceptual structure and more intention behind them, but it's helped me to even make these videos where I ramble and sort of move my mind into the future, where it will be in the future. And so even if upon starting a video like this it doesn't seem productive, it's nevertheless helpful for me. Guys, I'm around the sort of DC orbit at present. I'm figuring it out. And I can remember a few years ago thinking that it was essential to get involved with politics because there were so many dubious political developments just a few years ago. And it seemed like you didn't have a choice. Like you couldn't do other things because political factions were taking over the entirety of public life and private life, and you had to do something about it, and you had to fight back. And it was sort of like, okay, the country reacted to a lot of what I was saying and was going, but it just went in its own direction, because the individual can only do so much, especially the young, under-resourced individual. So the mob and democratic politics just reacted, and it moved forward, and it's doing stuff that doesn't is I'm once again alienated from, but it's less so an immediate like danger to me, the way some of the political developments 6 years ago were. So I've reached a point where I'm like, okay, it's good to have an understanding about how the federal government works, at a personal level, like gaining insight into the lives of people who are from that world, understanding its institutions, understanding its social expectations, its sort of intellectual commonplaces. Which, by the way, that's one thing I wanted to say. The intellectual commonplaces, the commonplace ideas in Washington, D.C. are so boring, to me at least. They're boring. People, like this, it's a standard palette of ideas. It's not, in terms, at the professional level, it's not a very bold group because, with exceptions because of, like MAGA people who are being imported, who are kind of like their own breed, but in the DC core and whatnot, the values are very. I mean, they're even if they're liberal, they're conservative. You understand, they're risk averse. It's like people are kind of institutionalized in such a manner where they're really good at like obeying abstracted rules that are like necessary for career advancement and whatnot. So they come out of that being like really fucking dull people with like very judgmental, not all unhappy, but kind of unhappy. I mean, they're like, there's so much pressure to like, use your time well, and like, I'm going to invoice you for taking up my time. This sort of stuff. It's like, and then, by the way, people drive like maniacs. In Washington D.C. There's a it's I mean, I've when I drove through Memphis one time, that was the worst driving I'd ever seen, like just on a highway. In D.C. they drive like fucking insane people, and it's a different kind of bad driving. It's like psychopathic driving. It's like I'm in a very expensive car, and I'm going to cross over 2 lanes without my blinker, because I've got to be somewhere. My boss is going to kill me if I don't get there. It's very strange. And then it's a more formal culture, and like I said, so bureaucratized. And I don't have, like, I'm speaking with like a very cursory understanding of DC, but it's just what I'm saying. I'm not like in love with. I just know that I've seen some cultures in this country. I've been around to different parts. I've seen some cultures that just were so annoying and so shitty, and like it's not like as unredeemable as some other places I've been to. But I'm just kind of thinking like, man, all right, this was sort of it was not a. I understand why I was thinking about sort of penetrating the managerial world at the time. I understand why I moved in that direction, but I'm kind of like reflecting on it now, where I go, it's probably not everything, it's definitely not. And part of this is just the process of maturity, the process of learning more about the nation you live in, and how the world works and whatnot. So you get curious, you fixate on certain things, you try to push yourself to learn as much as you can. So I wouldn't have been able to have this sort of blooming reflection on politics in the political world, at least the governmental world, if not politics itself, because it's sort of different, very related but different. One is just pure bureaucracy. One is like dealing with like culture war and stuff like that. But I understand why I had this interest in one, and so I only had this reflection by kind of seeing it a little bit more, getting more of a taste of it. But I'm like, yeah, that's not. I don't know. And then when you look at even when people plot careers, at this point, if you're looking for career stability in government, even if it's something like being say years down the line, you become a fellow at a certain like a DMV or Northeast school. You become a fellow at a certain department there. You work at a think tank. You rise up as a staff assistant for a politician and things like it. Just anything that's more not emphatically dealing with on the ground politics, but dealing with either administration or the theory of administration. You're still orbiting politics, right? You're still influenced by it and reacting to it. And politics in this country is cooked, as my generation says, it's cooked. And so it's like hard to find any of those jobs like very romantic, you understand? Oh, I can't wait for like years and years and years of talking about classical liberalism or something. It's like and being around, as I said, people from this world, this overly bureaucratic and buttoned up world. I'm not against formal dress, but like there's ways of being very standard and dull. With this is I'm not speaking about a very difficult to believe archetype here, but the boring bureaucrats. You kind of just don't want to be too roped up with them. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I'm being premature in this judgment. It's not like I really know many like polished bureaucrats very well. I just can kind of see these pathways into this stuff, and I'm like, man, is that so good? One thing that made me more tolerant of that idea was that I've just seen like there's people whose brains are just destroyed today, and the bureaucrat personality stands in contrast to that. These people typically, they have to read, they have to have they've studied something in college to the point where they've demonstrated a capacity for understanding like history and cultural production, cultural theory maybe, or things like that. Uncommon stuff. They've had demonstrated at least a capacity to study these things and speak about it and have some interest in it. But the actual, again, as I said, the actual culture of DC is very standard in a lot of ways. A lot of the weird political craziness that in large doses can be unbearable in this country. It's kind of charming in small doses, and that's easier. That's probably, that can be developed a lot more easily outside of the federal professional class. You understand? So these are people who don't really have much attachment to the things that go on in this space would be more disposed towards just having any old wild thought about politics and being very passionate about it and getting crazy. And there's obviously ways in which that goes so wrong, but in small doses, it's kind of refreshing. It like is a reminder of what people can believe in, and then you have to ask questions. Why would somebody be attracted to that, or where did that ideology come from? What sort of things are happening in mainstream society that would promote this as a reaction, a response, or it keeps you on your toes, right? If everybody kind of has the same background in basic like mainstream American cultural history, mainstream American policy positions, that's a little stale. And if they studied once or had some interest in something more niche and whatnot, that becomes that's like not something that manifests. So I'm waving away some bugs, but that's not something that becomes and I'm doing hand gestures at the same time. That's not something that becomes like an obvious part of a person's personality or how they engage with the world. At a place like DC, it seems to me, I could be wrong on that. Like I said, I don't know the place too deeply. But yeah, and then I don't know. Like there's yuppie strivers are in this area, and they're not very cool, and it's hard to meet somebody who you can like trust or who isn't just very shallow and very materialistic. Yeah, there's kind of a difference between being a very well-polished bureaucrat and being somebody who studied how to be a bureaucrat versus being somebody who has diverse intellectual capacities. Like focusing myopically on career success kind of reduces your it causes your I don't want to say something as arrogant as like arrogant sounding, at least it lessens your mental acuity in certain ways, but it makes you less considerate of a lot. I'll say that much. It necessarily would, right? So fuck it, man. I'm really just shocked how I'm not a small newborn baby or something. I've spent some time being alive, and I'm shocked by how little I've seen that I believe in. It's really just what the fuck? What a country, man. What a world. It's global too. I've been in other countries, of course, and some of the same trends are going on all over the West. Maybe I need to check out what's going on outside of the West. But this place, there's certain things I can't even say, right? But what a shitfest, man. It's not the worst thing ever. It could be worse. There's ways it's like a mundane just dullness, It's not the same thing as having, being in a war-torn country or something like that. But it's pretty astonishing how we're living like the good life, right? Insofar as what the rest of the world thinks, or many of the people in the global south have been led to believe, or kind of, must feel if they really live in shitty conditions or something. And it's like, it's not actually that great. It's really not. It's really fucking boring and vapid and selfish and superficial. That's what life is like. Across the West, and especially in the U.S. So it's not that fantastic, And then, but maybe I'm wrong to say that. All right, goodbye.